Traveling the Vortex.
We still haven't joined the Doctor as she travels the Vortex, and we're stuck at episode 465, Inside Our Homes. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
Hey, guys.
Welcome back. We're back.
I'm feeling out of
We're
touch with the
back.
natural order of things.
Still recording from home, but we are back.
So you have to excuse any glitches we have through that process.
I want you all to take just a moment and imagine a big hug.
A socially distanced hug.
Yeah.
It's as good as it's going to get for right now.
Yeah. Imagined hugs are safe, I believe.
We can't take any risks.
Right.
We'll give you the elbow high five if you prefer.
And then some hand sanitizer. How are you guys faring during this pandemic?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, as good as can be. Just still working. Haven't stopped on that end, and we're finding things to do at home. We're all kind of homebody. My family's kind of homebodies anyway, so this hasn't been a real struggle. We did finally go out and eat for the first time, like out and eat. A couple weeks ago, we went to Olive Garden.
We signed up for one of those meal in a box deals, where they send you the food and the recipes and then you cook it at home. And we try. I don't even remember which one we're on now. Every Plate, I think, is the one. And it's been kind of nice in a way because we're being exposed to a whole range of foods that we wouldn't normally eat. And recipes that we wouldn't normally bother with. The downside is, my God, there's not a night that goes by that I feel like we haven't dirtied every dish in the house cooking this stuff. And we actually took a break this week because we were both like, no, man, no, I can't do it again. So we're taking the week off from that. And I told Mel, I was like, all right, bring out all the old favorite recipes. What do you want? Mac and cheese, hot dogs? What are we cooking?
One pot wonders.
I don't know how many times Sarah and I have talked about how the pandemic really hasn't changed our lives that much. We weren't going out that much to begin with, and now we're just a little bit less.
We finished the Doctor Who lockdown materials that we started on our last episode, and we left off. Where do we leave off? How the Monk Got His Habit. Was that the last one we did?
That was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
And so we're picking up with the Descendants of Pompeii, which was the 24th special that they did in collaboration with Lockdown. And for listeners, if you don't remember, over the summer, a group of dedicated Whovians got together and planned. Emily Cook, I think, was the founder of the project. And she's from Doctor Who magazine, and she had proposed the idea that fans simulcast a watch along with Doctor Who videos. And I think it started with Day of the Doctor was the first one, and it just really kind of blew up and took off from there. And so the cool thing I thought was that all of these different stories had these corresponding specials that people would take part in. Stephen Moffat wrote some stuff, Chris Chibnall wrote some stuff, Russell T Davies wrote some stuff, and a lot of Doctor Who alums. And so we're going to finish off our list of things that we watched. We finally got around to watching all these, although I think we were up to what How the Monk Got His Habit is where we were up to when we reviewed these last, right? Because these were still going on. They were still ongoing.
Yeah, way back in May.
They were still ongoing while we were doing this.
Because the Descendants of Pompeii came out on May 17th.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this one, which I thought was really kind of cool, was, and forgive me because I can't remember the two actresses that do this, were
Francesca Fowler and
there
Tracy
you go.
Childs.
And they played the mom and daughter in the story. And if I'm understanding this right, they are playing descendants of those characters in this video chat. Is that what you guys got as well? And I liked I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I liked at the end when is Evie was her name, when she was talking about how she
Mhm.
she thought it was interesting that all of their people, their grandparents and parents and all these all kind of had the same professions, and she thought it was interesting. And when you think about it, they all had the same professions in Fires of Pompeii, so that kind of goes way back even further than just a few generations.
Yeah, very similar jobs.
Yeah.
Cop.
Well, and they
checker.
set up a nice pattern with that where, yeah, the grandma, Evie's grandma, was what she does, and then Evie's great grandma is what her mom does, and so it like alternates generations,
Mhm.
which I thought was a pretty clever way to do it.
Yeah.
So this was written by the author, the guy who wrote Fires of Pompeii.
Yeah, I saw that, which I thought that was kind of cool to be able to get him
That is really cool.
back to do that. James Moran.
This was kind of a cool idea. There just wasn't a whole lot of substance to it.
Yeah, there wasn't much to it. It was just kind of fun to check in and see, because I think that's one of the things that the episode Fires of Pompeii kind of leaves you with, is that wouldn't it be interesting to check back in on these people X number of years from now and see what has become of them. And this kind of gave you the opportunity to go, oh, cool. All right. That they're still paying it forward, as it were.
Moving on to the next one was Listen, which is a poem by Stephen Moffat.
I really enjoyed this one.
It seemed really familiar. Was part of the story, part of the poem in the episode?
I wondered the same thing because there was parts of it that sounded familiar to me, and like the doctor had recited some of it in the story, but I couldn't remember, and I meant to go back and check, but I never did.
TARDIS Wiki doesn't mention anything about it being a part of it, so I'm guessing not. I guess he just really drew upon the themes of the episode.
I almost wonder if, and I obviously could be completely off base here because I did zero research going into this, but I almost wonder if maybe Moffat, being the fan and writer that he is, maybe this was something that was written previously. That this was, an ode to the Doctor, if you will. And that then he later turned around and wrote Listen based on this poem.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe this inspired that episode.
It definitely feels like it.
I'm sure the information's out there if we looked, but...
Who is the narrator in this? Do we know?
Jacob Dudman.
No, I don't mean the person that was performing it. I meant who's the narrator that's written the poem. I mean, obviously that's Stephen Moffat as well, but do we know from whose perspective is this poem?
I was just going to say that is correct. Who is the narrator?
Who? Well, by the last lines of the poem implies it is the Doctor. It's almost like he's the narrator and he's the author at the same time.
Well, there's a conversation going on between two people in the poem, but at the end, I kind of got the impression that maybe this is the Doctor that is writing the poem himself.
And he's talking to himself?
Yeah.
The conversation is with himself?
Maybe.
Which is a very 12th Doctor thing. And maybe just yet another in a long line of him standing in the TARDIS orating.
The next one is Fear is a Superpower, featuring Danny Pink and Clara. And this was written by James Peaty. What do you guys think about this one?
It was a good recap of Danny Pink.
Yeah. I think maybe that's one of the reasons I was torn on it, is because it kind of it called back to this, character that I felt maybe I didn't give a fair shake because of how the series presented him, and then the Doctor's interactions with him, if that makes sense. I thought Danny was a pretty cool character until we got into the military background, and then that kind of became the catalyst for, now the Doctor can turn on him. And then it seemed like once that revelation happened, it seemed like everything was built around that he was no longer the school teacher, that he was just this. And the Doctor's reactions to Danny seemed very unfair to me, so that it kind of soured the character overall. And so to come back to it, and of course we won't get into the whole Cyberman thing at the end, but coming back to it with this, it kind of, I don't know, like reopened old wounds in a way, that it was just kind of like, oh, hey, here's Danny. Oh, hey, we're doing that again. Okay. Yeah. But I liked the message that I think they were trying to convey, if maybe not the delivery system, if that makes sense.
Oh, I thought the delivery system was fine. It felt like it was trying to say more about Dan. To me, it felt like it was trying to say more about Danny Pink and his character. But the problem I had with it, and Keith touched on this just before you started, Sean, it was really kind of a decent recap of Danny. And I kind of felt like it needed to go further to make me feel more I mean, I already was pretty compassionate for Danny Pink. I was pretty much on board with the character the whole time. I never felt like I was turned off by him in any way, at least that I can remember. I thought the character was fine, and actually, I thought he was an interesting character for that season. But I didn't feel like this did anything more to make people that maybe felt the way that you did, Sean, in the past. I don't know that it did anything to make people feel more. Or at least it didn't seem to me that it would made Danny feel any more compelling than the series already had.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it.
Well, and to me, it feels like, it was written in a way to explain the character arc for people who didn't get it. Like, all of the information that's in this are in the episodes, even if some of it's just subtext. And I understood all of that when I watched the episodes, so I didn't get anything new out of this at all. I understood how the connections between Dan, the soldier man, and him as a child connected to him, not wanting to lose Clara and all this stuff. It was all there on the screen for us, just in subtext. So I didn't need it all spelled out for me, and that's why I felt this was so unnecessary of a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And I didn't dislike it. It was just, and I guess maybe if anything, it was a nice reminder of the character. I thought the sketches that went along with it, I thought those were done really well. I liked those.
Yeah, no, it was very nice comic art.
Yeah, definitely a cool artistic choice to do it that way. And I've enjoyed all of them, actually, that have kind of the drawings or the animation styles. Maybe because they evoke pawn life. Maybe because I enjoy that style of storytelling, I think. But yeah, just to be clear that I don't hate Danny. I don't want to. Please don't flood us with letters. That wasn't my intention to say that. But yeah, to recap, that's probably just the best way to sum it up. Is just, yeah, we know this. It was okay.
Which one did this air with?
Listen.
Just Listen?
Yeah. Apparently that one had 2.
Okay. So yeah, it feels like it's people who didn't quite understand how Listen tied into Danny's story. It was a way to make it clear to them.
And I suppose that could be that maybe if you're used to Moffat and his, wibbly wobbly Mobius strips of plotting, that maybe when he throws something subtextual at you suddenly lose people. Maybe there was a portion of the audience that felt it was needed.
Of the Mobius strips of Stephen Moffat, this was the least Mobius.
I agree.
I think the one thing it had going for it is it does address the fact that Danny said, at least in this, Danny wonders why these people look so familiar to him, which is something that's not addressed at all in the series. That they go back in time, and they meet him as a little child in the orphanage, and it's never brought up later that, hey, you guys look familiar, or and so this at least tries to address that, or it makes mention. It doesn't really address it, but it makes mention anyway.
Very true.
I kind of wish it had been about Orson Pink instead of Danny.
Yeah, that's a plot thread that was left way open.
I agree. I would really like to have, if we're going to do something that ties in, let's have that. Let's explain that one.
Fix that issue.
So next up was one I really enjoyed was Doctors Assemble.
I don't know. Do we want to talk about Doctors Assemble yet? Should we save it?
Why would we save it?
Best for last.
The highlight.
Because it was the highlight of all of them.
It was
We could-
totally
we
the highlight.
Yeah, we could go, let's do that because we'll end on a more. It sounds like we'll end on a more positive note than we will some of these other ones. Well, let's skip that one. We'll hold on to that and come back to it. Let's do the Secret of Novice Haim. What did you guys think of this one?
No, I loved this one too.
This is another one I was not overly impressed by.
Really? You and I are not on the same wavelength anymore, Keith.
She was a character I didn't really care about. Apparently not.
Oh, now
She was
the
a
truth
character I
comes
didn't
out.
really care about in the episode, and so I didn't really care what happened to her after the episode either. So it was cool that they got David Tennant to do the voice at the very end, and then he was on his farewell tour, and he came to visit her too. But it was just okay. She's laying there and she's dying, but
This is also the actress
yeah,
who played her too. So Anna Hope.
I thought, now, admittedly, the Doctor's farewell tour for 10 is so ridiculously self-indulgent, which, we've kind of talked about before, that he's going to hold off on death while he goes and visits everybody that he possibly could have come in contact with over the last however many years he's been knocking about in this body. And it's total fan service. There's no other way to describe it other than wouldn't it be nice if? And so, okay, yeah, why not? So throwing one more onto, throwing one more log onto the fire. Okay, sure, why not? And I really felt this one. It was beautifully told. I loved the kind of very simplistic. I can't even call it animation, but drawings that went along with it. This story of Novice Haim and how she came to deliver, that final. I was very touched by it. I was like, that was a very well told story for something that we all knew happened. There wasn't a big lurking surprise. This is how that story comes about. It's like, oh, okay. It's kind of like Rogue One in that regard. We know where the story's going to go, but we know it has to end here, but this is how it's going to end up there. Oh, okay, cool. I just thought it was very well done. I liked it. But maybe it's because I do like the cat people. That could play into it.
I was kind of intrigued by her, the one part where she talks about why they were called to that planet or whatever. I couldn't tell if she was trying to allude to the Macra or if there's something else there that's tackled in the Big Finish audios.
I hadn't thought of that.
Does she return in the Big Finish audios?
She does. I was just looking that up. She's part of the Tales from New Earth.
Oh, okay. All right. I suppose I have to talk about it now.
Your turn.
It was 2 minutes too long and had too many more anthropomorphized aliens.
When they talked of dog kind and the hippo guards, I just thought of you, Glenn.
No, I thought it was all right. I like the message that they were doing here. I really liked the fact that it was the original actress and David Tennant doing it. I thought it was. I enjoyed the setup for how she got there and learning a little bit about her past, but it really kind of felt like, I don't know, it dragged on and on and on and on. And I thought they were painting this nice picture of where we were now, but I don't know, it was a little too long for me. I was getting bored and then a little more frustrated that I'm not sure that I understood the end of it. She never got to tell her his secret. Do we even know what the secret was? So I had a problem with that. And the other thing that bothered me about it was she was content with him thinking her last words were, I wonder. And just that seemed like a very, I can see where they were trying to put it in perspective of that was the last things that she said. And the doctor was trying to make something a little more profound out of it than perhaps it was. But she had more to say. And she died before she could say it. It was, I don't know. It was just weird. It's almost like their conversation went on too long. If they'd have just wrapped it up a little sooner, we'd have learned the secret and we'd have been done. But I don't know. I'm not going to beat this one up because it was nice. I mean, what little animation there was nice. I mean, it was very visual, but then you're staring at them, and they did their best to kind of change, night to day, and the doctors show up, and the little characters in the background showing up as she was describing them, and I mean, they did what they could, but I don't know. That kind of lent to the whole. It felt really long and drawn out. Was the fact that I was looking pretty much the same image the whole time.
Yeah, I felt that way too. Well, it was a nice image. I just didn't want to stare at that same one for so long.
Maybe it's just because the actress has such a beautiful voice that I was content to listen to her. Maybe it struck me at the right time. Maybe, I don't know, maybe every character deserves a great death. I what do you got for us? We're going to give you a great death scene. Oh, okay, cool. I mean, everybody gets excited to play a death scene. So
what's so great about this death? She didn't even get to tell their secret.
That's what's so great.
She got to wonder about her secret.
It doesn't say the reveal of the secret of Novice Haim. It's the secret of Novice Haim.
I'm sorry. When you put a title, "The Secret of Novice Haim," I want a payoff.
And I wonder.
There was a payoff. There were 2 coins.
I wonder falls right up there with "Oh my" as far as last words go.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
It's better than mine. Mine will be, a movie quote, I'm sure.
Let's move on to the best of days. This one featured Bill and Nardole, and would have run during World Enough in Time and The Doctor Falls, but I believe, if I remember right, they didn't end up doing those. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And the reason they didn't is because the death of George Floyd and the kickoff to the well, it wasn't the kickoff to the Black Lives Matter movement, but the unrest and the protests and things that started up based on that and on behalf of that sort of overshadowed. And they kind of felt that it would be maybe not in bad taste, but it was ready to. We were I think we were shifting mood and emotion at the time, and they just felt like that wasn't.
They wanted to allow the focus to be on the Black Lives Matters movements than the Doctor Who. And according to TARDIS Wiki, it got delayed. So Moffat was able to do a slight rewrite in order to add in the references to the racial riots.
That's what I wondered about that too, because when I watched it, I remembered hearing that this one was to coincide with those, and that had happened. And so when that was in the episode, I sort of thought, oh, okay, so this was timely enough that they had, at least there was foreknowledge of what was going on at the time that he wrote it. So I didn't realize that he kind of went back and polished it and rewrote that. So I think the thing that I had trouble with, and it's a Moffat story is probably the reason, is I had a real hard time following when this was set, because Nardole is obviously still on the
Mondasian ship.
Yes. Yeah. And Bill is on Earth with, what's her name? The pilot. What's her name?
Heather.
Thank you. And so I'm having a real time. I mean, it was obviously after Heather had rescued her, but did Nardole? Are we under the impression that Nardole kind of escaped that onslaught and was able to move to other levels and continue the fight against the Cybermen as they advanced?
I think we were supposed to believe that at the end of the episode.
Okay, and
he stayed behind. And
right, and I knew that was going to happen, but it seemed like that was like a write-off of the end. So this gave me the impression that he survived quite a bit longer. In fact, so much so that he settled down and had a family, right? Was that the impression you guys got too?
Totally.
Okay. So I did follow this better than I thought I did.
With his robotic body.
Yes.
And a broken leg.
Yeah, but not 2 broken legs. So
yeah. Because now he's in a wheelbarrow.
This was kind of nice that Pearl Mackie and Matt Lucas did this. I thought that was kind of a neat thing.
I like the idea that Bill and Nardole are sending space-time telegraphs to each other, catching up on what's going on. Especially since
Right,
the time
yeah,
on
me
Earth
too.
right now is so horrible that he needs to send her daily positivity outbreaks.
That's probably the most enjoyable part of this, is just that we get more of these two.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. From one dire situation to another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like the fact that they rewrote it and was able to touch on some of the issues that were happening at the time.
Yeah, it was a nice story, and I enjoyed it, and it was short, sweet, and to the point.
And there were no anthropomorphized aliens.
No anthropomorphized aliens.
Just a wheelbarrow robot.
Which is fine with me. All right, can we go and talk about the Doctors Assembled?
Well, what about the long song?
Oh, yeah, I mean, well, did you watch
it
all
was
of
a
them?
nice...
I watched the actual music video. I didn't go through and watch all of the different things. Oh no, that's not true, because I did watch what's his name reading as Tom Baker doing the speech.
I watched part of that one and then watched I had the choir only version playing in the background.
Oh, did you watch that one? I skipped it because I thought this is just going to be the choir. I wanted to actually hear the final product. So, although you have to go to the link is in that video to go to the guy's website that actually produced that in order to watch the actual video. But so you didn't go watch the final piece?
No, I just did the YouTube one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's actually that's the one I went to, and there's actually a final piece. I remember when the call went out for this, and I had intended to record my singing part to them and send it in, and I never got around to it. Then I watched it. I was like, oh, that would have been a cool thing to be a part of. Although the number of people in that background, I think, is just a small sampling, because I think they said they expected about 30 or 40 entries, and they got like 900 and something.
Wow.
Yeah. So the guy that produced it, he said he was a little bit overwhelmed at first, but he said they were able to pull it off, and he thought it was really good. If you get a chance, go to that video and click on the link and go to the guy's site, because you can actually see it there. In fact, I enjoyed it so much that I went and downloaded the song from iTunes, because I kind of figured I'll throw the guy a couple of bucks because he did such a nice job with it. So, so now I have two versions of the song. Probably three, because I think I have two compilations that have it on it. So, but this one's a little different. This is a cover, so this is different.
Yeah, it's different.
So will we be covering this cover when we get around to doing our special on Doctor Who themed music? Actually,
that's not a bad idea. I think we could count that one. I think that one would work. Although I think we're going to have to do that over a few episodes, to be honest with you, as much stuff as I've compiled.
Well, because you're going to spend a whole hour talking about Doctor in Distress, so.
Yeah, right. Right.
We know you love it, Glenn.
Actually, I do love it. It's kind of a guilty pleasure.
Just admit it. It's on your iPod. It's in the car. You drive to work with it.
It's on my iTunes. I can say that for sure. But I do have an excuse. I am compiling this stuff for the show someday. So
you drive to work, Doctor in Distress. You're in the drive-thru McDonald's.
I think I wrote something on my personal blog about it, and I think I was pretty generous to it. So let's talk about Doctors Assemble.
Please, let's talk about Doctors Assemble.
I kept seeing the advertisements for this one a lot, and I actually watched this one back when it released. I can't remember when.
So did I.
Back in May 23rd. Because I kept seeing the trailer. There was two different trailers for it. There was a real simple like teaser trailer, and then there was a little longer trailer. And I was so intrigued by it. I thought I got to go check out what this is, and I was very pleased that I did. Then, of course, the other day when I was doing my watch through again, I watched it again and just enjoyed it as much the second time as I did the first time. What did you guys think of the voices?
I thought they all did an incredible job.
I think they did too. I was really kind of surprised that it was David Bradley doing the first Doctor.
Yeah.
So really the only one of these people that have actually played a Doctor was the first Doctor, was David Bradley, and he was in it. The other ones have
On
done
television.
Yes, I was gonna say the other guys have done stuff in audio.
Because the guy who did the 11th Doctor is the guy who does it for the 11th Doctor Chronicles.
Right. So they have done in character, but yeah, the only one that's performed him in television, and is credited, I suppose, as the first Doctor.
Yeah, as the Doctor. But I think most of the other ones, other than John Coleshaw and Jacob Dudman, hadn't really done much in as far as like Big Finish goes.
Coleshaw Shaw hasn't. He did. I think he is, if I remember right.
He's the Brig.
Click on his name here. Oh, is he? Oh, I didn't know he did the voice of the Brig.
Yeah, he's taking over the voice of the Brig for all the new stuff now.
I'll be darned. That's kind of cool. No, he's done
was the third Doctor.
Nope, that's Tim Treloar.
Or Tim Treloar.
Yeah.
He did a good third Doctor in this, though.
He was originally known for doing impersonations of Tom Baker as the fourth Doctor on sketch appearances in the UK. I think on prank. And he did prank telephone calls for Dead Ringers, which was a kind of like what was our Jerky Boys we had here. It was kind of the same thing over there. They would be prank calls, and he would pretend to be the Doctor. So that was what he was most well known for. So he's been known for his Tom Baker impression for years and years and years, since at least the early 90s. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he also was the voice that Ian.
Oh, was he the Shada fourth Doctor?
Yes. What was his name? Ian. Why can't I think of his name?
Ian Levine.
Ian Levine's cut when he hired everybody to voice his animated version. I believe that was who he got, was John Coleshaw. I believe.
After how many episodes of dealing with Shada, you don't remember that tidbit, Glenn?
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Must be time for a review.
He also performed the role of Tom Baker's voicemail in the Five-ish Doctors reboot.
Wow, everybody really was in that.
So he has been on TV as the Doctor.
I guess so.
I just think the story is great, because I think it's hard to say it's canonical, but I think you can say it's canonical, or at least continuity, because it does verge on farce. It's very farcical, but it's also in the realm of how a lot of these Doctors interact and would interact if they were all on a call together. And I think that who was this? It was James Goss that wrote this, which I think he had their mannerisms and the characters down just to a T. And I think my favorite thing about this is the fact that the Sixth Doctor, who's barely in it, is really kind of the hero of the whole thing.
That was probably the most genius stroke of it in a story full of genius strokes.
Yeah.
Each one just kind of kept one-upping the one that was before it, with the reveal and the surprise and so-and-so's in this as well. Because I'll be honest, I kind of went into this blind. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't see any of the trailers when I was keeping track of lockdown stuff, saw this was the next thing, went and watched it and went, what is this? So I got a real bonus surprise, in my box of Lucky Charms. But as each thing rolled out, as each thing came up, it was just like, oh, so and so's in this too. Oh wow, that's totally David Bradley. Oh, okay. And then the Sixth Doctor at the end was just like, yes.
Well, and the fact that it starts off as a throwaway joke of him sending cat pictures and not understanding how it works, and it's really him trying to solve the problem.
Well, that's what I thought was most clever about it, is the fact that he comes across, and I think even though Colin Baker has kind of redeemed himself, and I think that the Sixth Doctor is looked upon more favorably now than he used to be, but there's still this sense of he's kind of the jester, or the forgotten Doctor, or the Doctor that still gets made fun of because of the coat, and he wasn't around very long, and that kind of stuff. And so to start the story off with kind of what is perceived as kind of buffoonery from the Sixth Doctor, and then just do the little switcheroo at the end where no, he was actually the smartest doctor in the room, I thought was really, really well done. It's like James Goss kind of felt like it was almost like it was a love letter for the Sixth Doctor. You know, it was like the Sixth Doctor, he was finally giving the Sixth Doctor his due.
Which, you know, it's needed. I mean, obviously through the joy of Big Finish, there's a wealth of material to go out and learn the Sixth Doctor anew and appreciate him and realize, this is who this character is, which is great. But if you don't have the exposure to that and you're limited to just the TV run, it can be a little challenging to try and pull those nuggets of awesome out of there because
and I
of
think
the overall, you know, time frame of the show.
And I think a majority of fans are still very limited in their scope, and they aren't a lot of them that listen to Big Finish. I mean, there are a lot of Big Finish fans, don't get me wrong, but I think there are a lot of Doctor Who fans out there that have never even experienced Big Finish.
Right.
We'd run into a plethora of people whenever we'd go to conventions.
Oh yeah, I think for the most part, the casual fan isn't really into Big Finish.
Yeah,
I know a lot of diehard fans out there that aren't into Big Finish.
Yeah, and part of that, I wonder if it's just because of the level of daunting. You know, for a casual fan, is okay. I've watched all of the new series, and I'm going to get into the classic stuff. How many years of this are there? Oh, that many. Okay. Well, just wait, because there's also this many audio adventures that you could delve into. And I wonder maybe if that's just, you know, adds to the mountainous pile of things that there are to do with it.
Yeah,
but part of it is just that, you know, some people don't consider it canon still. And, well, you know, those people are wrong. But,
I agree. I agree. And I think a lot of people struggle with audio performance. There's a lot of people that need the visuals, and so they prefer to just, you know, if it's just audio, they can't get into it, and I respect that.
Yeah, it's a horse of a different color, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I think there's also something to be said for the cost aspect of it too. That unless you are willing to go through nefarious means or have an awesome library, it can be a little cost prohibitive to try to dip your toe into it. It's getting better. With Spotify and stuff like that, but it's
Spotify
not. It didn't
all of the deals that Big Finish has had over the past 6 months. I mean, I can't believe how much free audio they've offered, how much discounted like $1.99 audios they've offered.
There's no reason why anybody shouldn't be getting into it now. But before this, I could totally understand that being a reason.
And I think if you use their app exclusively, there's a lot more content on there that you can get. Bonuses and cheap.
I actually feel a little bad that I was, you know, aware of that, but I feel a little bad that we didn't champion that a little bit harder during this whole process. That you know, oh, you're stuck at home with nothing to do and there's no new content. Go to Big Finish and get some stuff.
Yeah.
But
you can champion it now.
And we've been championing it for a long time.
New. Yeah, that's true. We've been fanboys of Big Finish pretty much from the get-go.
Oh yeah.
But this was
I've been a fan of Big Finish since I picked up Spare Parts about 15 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, you, sir, have been well, as with most things regarding the podcast, longer in the tooth than the rest of us. Not so subtle dig. This was just a delightful. Man, how much fun was this story? And I was a little worried because obviously when you do a multi-doctor story, you get those. Well, how much is too much? Because that seems to be the thing now. Is there's a lot of, well, we've got to give them all. You know, let's cram all the doctors in there ever since Light at the End. We've got to have every doctor imaginable that we can push into this thing. And they did, but yet they did it in such a way that it worked. And
Mhm.
everybody, as you said, their characterizations were spot on. Their interactions with each other were, that's how they would have played that off. And it just, everything about this clicked on all cylinders. It was so good.
Yeah, I have no negative comments about this thing. It was just completely awesome. And another favorite thing I had for it was the fact that, yes, Sixth Doctor solved the problem, but the War Doctor is the one who pointed it out and fixed the other
Yep.
problem.
Yep.
While everyone is still bickering, these two doctors who probably have not very much love for them in general just saved the day completely.
Mhm.
The two forgotten doctors.
Yes.
And the fact that the guy who did the War Doctor did such a good job with his voice, I think that was probably it sounded like that should have been John Hurt.
Yeah, in fact, I would love to see Big Finish court this guy, and if they do further War Doctor audios, I'm all on board with letting him do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All on board with letting him do it.
You know, I think we've discussed briefly in the past about recasting and our thoughts on it and kind of where, we came down. And after listening to this, I am fully on board with, if you can get the right voice talent to put this level of care and they sound like them, and if they can hold that for an entire production, abso-smurfly, let's have some more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was, why not?
Especially if it's going to be in a multi-doctor format.
Or again, if it's one of those where, like with the War Doctor, there just isn't that much out there, unfortunately, because of circumstances, or, you can't say that necessarily about the Eighth Doctor now, but
I think some of the one of the things that bothered me a little bit were the background pictures that they used for some of them. And I think that they were trying to go with if each doctor had a Facebook page, what would their profile picture look like?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like their Skype profile picture.
Yeah. And that was kind of the vibe that they gave, but there were some of them that I thought were a little, I don't know, ones that I think I would have used different for the character.
Yeah.
One of the ones particular, the one that I thought was the best, and I chuckled when I finally realized what it was saying, was the War Doctor with the toilet paper shelf being bare, and then written on the back was "no more." I thought, okay, that's a bit timely there. So I thought that was funny. But I don't know, just some of them were like the cliffhanger one from the Seventh Doctor. I mean, we were being cheeky there because of that, iconic imagery. I thought the Third Doctor's close up with the maybe that one is appropriate too, because we always make mention of how he always has kind of an odd look on his face when he's frustrated or being attacked or something. I don't know. There was just
it took me until my second watch through to get the 13th Doctors. I had to call my brain back to the very first video that she did.
Oh,
about,
she's
staying in lockdown. So she's in the cupboard hiding from the Sontaran. And I was like, why is she there and with the Sontaran? What?
Yeah, that was
me a little bit.
Call back to Jodie Whittaker's first thing that she did.
That was a lovely bit of continuity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if
just
the picture of
I think I would have chosen
11th Doctor
better.
Looked very much like him.
Who?
The 11th Doctor with Laurel and Hardy. Just they didn't pull an image from the video, so it just didn't look like him.
I'm not sure they could have pulled a very good image from the video, because the video is so small. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it would have been difficult. I think they just figured they had to, in order to get the resolution right, they had to recreate it in some way.
Just the guy just didn't look like him.
Yeah.
There was nothing bad about this. It was all awesome.
Pictures was my only complaint. Some of the pictures, not even all of them.
It was all awesome.
All right. Well, Sean, do you want to let everybody know what we got coming up on the schedule? Because it's a big one. We got a big.
It is kind of a kind of a big, it's almost like a multi-doctor event coming up. But first, a big event in our own. We're going to come back, and you may have noticed, maybe not so with this one. This one's kind of a little bit of an oddball. We have a new format launching where we are going to be bi-weekly and continuing to bring you our thoughts on who. And of course, that will change once the show comes back. Rest assured, we will still be here with the new episodes when they come out.
Whenever that might be.
My money's on Easter Saturday. But so coming up next would be a Lost in Time. We're going to tackle one of the missing episodes that we have. It's literally missing because it's one of the few we haven't covered yet. We're going to do the Myth Makers, back to the first Dr. Hartnell era, and cover the recon and the novelization for those of you who like to follow along at home. And then our big multi-doctor kickoff event with a little something we brought to you in the news previously, Time Lord Victorious. And this is a fairly massive multi-platform event that is going to be one story that involves the 8th, 9th, and 10th Doctors spread over comic books and short stories and audio adventures and novels and escape rooms and all kinds of stuff, which each piece of this will be doled out in a different format. And so we are going to attempt to tackle all of it in order to bring you the story so far. And that will start in October for us. So stick around. The schedule is there for you. And we kind of sort of think we know where we're going all the way up through the end of the year. But obviously, as always, things can change at a moment's notice. If 2020 has taught us anything, it's that things can change at a moment's notice. But we'll try and keep you appraised of that.
Exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to
right.
it. All right. Anything else we need to touch on before we close this show? If not, till next time, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
No, I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.